Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim, and our guest today is Laura. So Laura, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Yeah, kia ora, Dan. Thanks for the intro. My name's Laura, and I am the co-founder and CE of Gourmet Pet Treat Co. And we are based in Christchurch, Aotearoa, New Zealand. Yes.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm curious about your business. Obviously, that there's many companies in the pet treat space and pet food. So I'm curious kind of like, what inspired you to like start this business? Like what gave you this idea?
Yeah, it's certainly a saturated market and there's plenty of options out there. The reason that Steph and I started the business is that we didn't see an option that was fit for us. And it was a bit of a cottage industry story, I guess, where I was doing some hobby freeze drying and we were providing some of our community at the time with freeze-dried mussels particularly, because they're a superfood and have loads of health benefits. And Steph is a lifelong friend, and I was catching up with her in a pub in Sydney one day. She was living in Australia at the time. And she's just like, wow, this could be bigger. Like there's an opportunity out there. And that's kind of where Gourmet started, over a meal at the pub. We took about a year to really nut out what we wanted to do, identify our brand values and our mission statement as a company, and really assess the market and the opportunity in the market and where we would align ourselves. So we went for an ultra premium human grade product, but that's also driven by our core values of sustainability and producing a product that reduces waste where possible and providing the best nutrition for our animals. So foods that are really functional as well as delicious.
Amazing. So in terms of your business, like, are you 100% direct to consumer? Are you sold in retail stores? What does that breakdown kind of look like for you?
Yeah, we're actually predominantly a B2B business. So most of our income is from wholesale orders. We do a little bit of direct-to-consumer sales, but that was more to develop our brand and develop awareness. We launched in the middle of COVID, so there were some limitations around how we could get out there and get it heard.
So in terms of like the B2B channel, do you just sell in New Zealand or do you sell across, Australia, US? Like where are most of your customers currently located?
Yes, so at the moment we're selling across New Zealand. We're represented in over 100 retailers in New Zealand. So for a small country, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And we are currently in a number of Asian markets and have done market testing in the US and are actually launching there this year.
Oh, amazing. So in the US, like, can you share kind of like, are you going to be in certain retailers and I guess like in certain states? Because obviously, people often roll out like in a certain region of the country just because we are so massive. So I guess I'm curious about that, like what that kind of looks like.
Yeah. We're still working through the details with our distributor, but he is represented on both coasts with distribution centres. So we'll be providing treats nationwide. We'll also be on a number of direct-to-consumer platforms that I'm sure you'll be well aware of, but those details will follow.
Yeah. And I guess I'm curious, right, in this category, because I feel like, because you mentioned, right, like it's super competitive. You guys have a great mission. I think sometimes in retail, it can be hard to like get that message across, right? Because you're like on the shelf, like, people might not understand this mission that you explained. So how have you kind of gone about explaining this to people? Is it like your packaging? Do you do sampling at these stores? Like what has kind of worked for you to get that, message across to your customers?
Yeah. I mean, we do it in a few different ways. I guess one way that we really communicate our values to our customers is through our B Corp certification. If you're not familiar with B Corp, it's a third-party accreditation to demonstrate your commitment to your community and the environment and your workers and the way you structure your business as well. So we're pretty proud of that certification. There's not many pet food companies that are actually certified. And at the moment, our last score was verified at 88 0.9 or something like that points. So most businesses score around 40 to 50 points. You need a pass of 80 to get accredited. And then this year we're just going through the re-verification process and recertifying, and our points are just sitting around the 100 mark. So it's a really important way for us to assess our impact and how we can actually reduce that and enrich our communities as well. As far as the nutrition goes, I guess it's a bit of an education piece because all of our treats are freeze-dried, and we've recently entered into the health category as well. So we do dietary supplements. And so we do try and highlight the key selling points on our packaging with that. The key one that we really sets us apart from others is that we're all human grade. So all our ingredients that go into our products are all food grade ingredients. And then they're produced here in our factory where I am today. Sorry if it's a bit noisy in the background. And they're all done to a food grade standard. So it's only downgraded to pet food when you pop it in the bag that says for pet food consumption only.
So in terms of, and I was just curious, really, about that certification, right? So do you have that on your packaging? And also, like, do you notice consumers like looking up on the website, like which companies are certified? Like, how do you kind of, like get in front of people that you do have that certification?
Yeah, so it is on our packaging. It's something we're pretty proud of. We also do a lot of posts on our social around it as well. There's a growing awareness. It's in the top 10 recognized certifications with the US now. So it's right up there with, the organic and fair trade.
And then obviously that you mentioned that you're rolling out in the US, there's, it's a bigger market, lots of opportunities. Like as I said, right, it's big and, it's saturated. There's, lots of competition. So are you planning on running ads on different platforms to raise awareness, maybe on some of these marketplaces where you're going to be? Like, what is kind of your marketing strategy as you roll out here in the US?
Yeah. At the moment, we're looking mainly at our digital strategy, and that's going to be really collaborative with our distributor. So we'll be doing lots of advertising through Instagram and Facebook. We will be doing some advertising on the various market platforms that we'll be on as well. Interestingly enough, the most impactful campaigns that we run are the face-to-face campaigns. So we have a really high conversion when we have sampling in stores. And then we've got a really good retention rate in terms of lifetime value of a customer.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think especially in this category, once you get trial, once the pets love the product, that your lifetime value is super high. So I guess like on that note, like what is your vision? Like, do you want to, create more SKUs? Do you want to get into more markets like beyond the US? Like where do you kind of really see your brand going here in the next few years?
Yeah, I'd like to imagine Gourmet's going to become a household name. I really would like to shake up the industry a little bit. It's dominated by, some really big players like Mars. And I just think that there's a way that we can lift the bar. There's a huge trend in the humanization of animals and people really starting to recognize and identify how we can enrich animals' lives and increase their longevity because through their diet. So that's a bit of a mission statement for us, is just to really promote animal well-being and welfare. As far as going into new markets, I think the US, we're also launching into China as soon as our compliance listing comes through. So we've got two really big markets ahead of us this year. So we're not really looking at further expansion after that. In the near future, it would be more about consolidating and increasing sales in those markets. We will be, new product development is one of my passions, and we've got a few things in the works at the moment, but one of those will be working towards a complete diet. So we are a household item that's, an everyday thing rather than treating your animal when you have that moment of connection or training or the guilty moment, which I'm sure is how most of us actually treat our pets. You give them a treat when you walk out the door.
Exactly. But are you looking at like other animals? I think right now you're just serving cats and dogs. So would you want to potentially serve other pets in the market?
Yeah, it's something that we're considering. I guess there's quite a shift in terms of what's required and nutritional requirements. So it's a little bit of research and R&D. And particularly in China, for example, there's a lot of other smaller animals that are quite popular. But at the moment, I'm pretty happy with cats and dogs. They're still the majority of household pets.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially here in the States, I think that's the vast majority. So obviously that you're rolling out in retail here this year. So in terms of your biggest goals? Like, what are the biggest goals that you want to accomplish this year? I mean, obviously, successful retail rollout, but if you can kind of expand maybe other specific goals, how many stores you want to be in, things like that, or what you kind of envision for 2025.
Yeah, I would like to see us distributed across America. I think starting in those boutique independently owned stores is always a really good starting point. But again, that's a conversation that we'll be having in collaboration with our distributor as he kind of leads the charge there. And he's quite well connected. So I'm sure there'll be other retailers that will be popping up in no time.
Yeah, it's definitely very exciting. So, on that note, if you could go back in time to before COVID, before you started this business, what is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
It would probably just to jump in and do it. Gourmet's actually been a side hustle for us for the last 4 years. This year is the first year that I'm doing it as a full-time gig. So it's been a real balance trying to manage my day job alongside Gourmet. And I think it's probably hindered our growth sometimes. But actually, I think just jump in and do it. It's a leap of faith that it pays off.
Yeah, for sure. It's always hard to make that jump and to know when to make that jump. So I guess based on that note, if somebody watching this was interested in Gourmet, wanted to try and order, from your website or even reach out to you if they had questions about it, what's the best way for somebody to get in contact?
Yeah, they can get in contact through our Instagram or Facebook pages. So you can find us at the handles #gourmetmates or my email address, which is just laura@gourmet.co.nz.
Awesome. Well, Laura, thanks so much for your time today.
My pleasure, Dan. Thank you.